For over 300 years, the Zorak Empire ruled the galaxy without fear. No one dared to fight them. Planet after planet had surrendered to their power. Their ships were the largest, their weapons the deadliest, and their leaders the cruelest. Every race that resisted was crushed. Stories of rebellion were told in whispers, and even those whispers soon vanished. In the Imperial Hall, on the planet Kovar, the Zorak Emperor sat on his throne made of bones. He laughed as another planet's leader knelt before him, begging for mercy. "Another weak world added to our glory," the Emperor said. "This galaxy is ours." But far away from Kovar, deep in Sector 9, an area long thought empty, a signal appeared. It was weak, old, and strange. A scout drone picked it up by accident. At first, the Zorak data team ignored it. It sounded broken, almost like a ghost speaking through static. But when the signal kept repeating, they had to report it. The signal was just one word, over and over. Human. The moment that word reached the Imperial Council, the room fell silent. Many of them had only heard of humans in ancient records. The Empire believed humans were gone, destroyed long ago in a war no one remembered clearly. Some thought they were just a myth, but now... A signal? The Emperor waved his hand. "Send a scout ship. Bring me answers. I do not fear old ghosts." A fast Zorak scout cruiser was sent into Sector 9. It entered the dark zone quickly, disappearing. From sensors. Then... nothing. Hours passed, then days. No signal, no message. The ship was gone. "Pirates," one commander said. "A trap," said another. "A trick by rebels." The Emperor was angry. He ordered 2 more ships to be sent. "Crush anything you find," he said. Both ships entered Sector 9. Both vanished. Now the fear began to spread, quietly. The Zorak did not show fear in public, but behind closed doors, something cold was growing. The signal had not stopped. It kept repeating, louder now, clearer. "Human," the Emperor called a secret meeting. 3 ships lost. "What is happening?" he shouted. A young officer stood up. His hands were shaking. He showed a short recording pulled from a damaged probe. On the screen, something moved through space, a shape, dark and massive. It was a warship, old but alive, human design. "That's impossible," whispered a general. "That class of ship. It hasn't been seen in 200 years. The warship looked damaged, yet deadly. Its metal surface was blackened, as if from fire. Strange lights ran along its hull. It moved slowly, but with purpose. The probe had caught only one moment, just before being destroyed by a single energy pulse. The council was silent. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "One ship. Is this what's destroying our scouts?" A soft voice spoke from the corner. "It is not just a ship. It's a message." The Emperor turned. "What do you mean?" "They want us to know they're back." Soon after, another small probe, a stealth one, was sent. It moved carefully through the darkness of Sector 9, using every trick to avoid detection. It managed to get closer. What it found made the command team freeze. There was a graveyard of ships, Zorak ships, floating in silence. Torn apart, melted, crushed. And in the center of it all, the human warship stood still, like a ghost guarding a forgotten battlefield. Then the warship moved, not in space, but in thought. It sent out a message directly to the probe, a short, clear message in many languages. "Do not follow. This space is claimed." The probe tried to escape, but a surge of energy came from the human ship. Everything went black. The signal was received back on Kovar. Panic was now real. The Emperor still refused to show it. He ordered a full battle group to prepare, 30 warships. "Wipe this old human garbage from space," he shouted. The Zorak fleet jumped into Sector 9, back on Kovar. People waited. The Emperor smiled. "Soon, it will be gone," he said. But hours passed. Then a single pod returned, a damaged escape unit. Inside was the commander of the fleet, barely alive. He was burned, bleeding, shaking with fear. The Emperor stepped forward. "Speak! What happened?" The commander's eyes were wide, lost. He spoke only one sentence before collapsing. "It was just one ship. One." And then he fell silent. Across the stars, the signal changed. It now said something new. "This is only the beginning." The entire Zorak Empire shook with confusion. One human warship, just one, had destroyed 30 of their best ships. The Emperor locked himself in his chamber for hours. Not even his closest guards were allowed inside. When he finally came out, his face was hard as stone. "Bring the warlords," he ordered. The warlords were the highest-ranking military minds in the Zorak Empire. They controlled planets, led conquests, and had never lost a battle. They came with pride and anger in their hearts. When they sat at the round table, the Emperor didn't waste time. "You all saw the message," he said. "You heard what it said. Humans are back." Some warlords laughed. "With respect, my Emperor," one said, "this must be a trick. One ship? It cannot do such damage alone." Another nodded. "Even if it is human-made, it must be run by something else. A machine. A rogue AI, humans are extinct." But not all agreed. Warlord Karn, the oldest, remained silent. His eyes were filled with memory. Finally, he spoke. "My father fought in the old wars. Against humans," Karn said. "He told me one thing. If you see only one human ship, run. Because more are coming." The room went silent. The Emperor waved his hand. "Then we must strike now. Before more come, we will gather a grand fleet, 200 ships, heavy carriers, plasma lancers, planet crushers. We erase this thing from the galaxy." The order was sent. The largest fleet the galaxy had seen in over a century began to form. Meanwhile, far from Kovar, the human warship moved again. It drifted through the dark like a shadow, quiet and slow. It wasn't in a rush. It didn't need to be. Its mission was clear: remind the galaxy that humanity was not gone. Inside the ship, no lights flickered. The walls were covered in strange, dark plating. Unlike Zorak ships, this one didn't hum or glow. It was cold, silent, but it was alive, and it watched. Another race, the Varnak, noticed the events. They were not friends of humans, but they remembered the stories. They saw the signals. They saw the Zorak fleet forming. Their leaders argued. Some wanted to run, others wanted to join the fight. But one elder said something simple. "If the stories are true, they are waking something the stars themselves tried to forget." The Zorak fleet was ready. 200 ships. The skies above Kovar turned dark as they left one by one. News spread across the galaxy. Billions watched. If this fleet failed, it meant something terrible, that humans were stronger than ever. The fleet reached Sector 9. Sensors stretched across the void, searching for the warship. But it was gone. "Cowards," one Zorak captain said. "They ran." Then one sensor officer whispered, "Sir, it's behind us." Every ship turned. There it was. Not running, not hiding, just waiting. One human ship against 200. It seemed like madness. The Zorak admiral gave the order. "All weapons, fire." Beams of red, green, and blue light crossed space like a storm. Missiles flew, energy pulsed, space cracked with soundless violence. The stars lit up with war, but when the light faded, the human ship still floated, untouched. One Zorak cruiser got too close. In a blink, a beam of pure black light tore through its core. It didn't explode. It simply disappeared, erased from existence. The human warship moved like a ghost, gliding between blasts, striking only when needed. It didn't fight for show. It fought to win. And each shot was perfect, quiet, final. Zorak. Captains screamed orders. Regroup! Focus fire! Flank it! Nothing worked. One by one, Zorak ships vanished from sensors. Crushed, burned, broken. Their screams never reached Kovar. Only silence. Back at Zorak Command, a deep alarm began to sound. An alarm not heard in centuries. Fleet signal lost. The Emperor stood, his face pale. How many escaped? The answer came in a whisper. None. And then, the signal returned, from the human warship. You thought we were gone. We remember everything. Now panic truly spread. Across the Empire, people began to ask questions. How many human ships were there? Why had they come back? What did they want? But no one had answers. Some tried to hide. Others begged their leaders to make peace. But peace was not an option. Not after what the Zorak had done to Earth centuries ago. Not after the lies, the genocide, the silence. The Emperor gave one final order. Prepare the homeworld defenses. If they come here, we must be ready. But even he didn't believe they could stop it. Far away, the human ship stopped again. It scanned the stars. It was waiting, not for orders, not for help, but for the next move. Because this was only the beginning. The Zorak Empire had never felt fear like this before. One human ship had destroyed their greatest fleet, and now it was moving again. Slowly, carefully, closer to their homeworld. On Kovar, the capital planet, people looked up at the sky and wondered if death was coming. Military leaders scrambled to activate old defense systems. Giant planetary cannons were brought online. Fighter squadrons filled the skies. The Emperor ordered every citizen to stay inside and wait. Still, the signal continued. You erased our world. We remember. Zorak scientists tried to trace the signal's exact location, but it kept jumping. It didn't follow normal paths. The ship moved through space like it knew the future. It never appeared where they expected. In the deep halls of the Empire, old records were opened. Files that hadn't been touched in centuries. They found what little they had on Earth. It shocked them. Humanity had once controlled hundreds of systems. Their technology had been advanced, their armies fearless, but they had been betrayed, tricked into war by Zorak spies, then surrounded and attacked by the full might of the Zorak fleets. The final strike destroyed Earth, or so they thought. 1. Commander General Kor read the old files and whispered to himself, we didn't destroy them. We made them disappear. We made them angry. In a hidden chamber beneath Kovar, the Emperor stood before an ancient device. It had been stolen from a human colony long ago, a machine of unknown purpose. Even the Zorak couldn't understand it fully. Now, it began to hum, without being touched, as if it felt the presence of something familiar. Above Kovar, the sky darkened. The human ship had arrived. Only one. Still just one. But now it wasn't silent. It sent a message straight into the minds of everyone on the planet. Not through speakers, not through devices, directly into their thoughts. We did not forget. You will. Zorak fighters launched. Swarms of small ships rushed toward the warship. Cannons fired from orbit. Planetary weapons struck the sky with thunder. The human ship didn't move. It absorbed the hits. Shielding systems no Zorak scientist had ever seen flickered across its hull. The fighters came closer, 20 of them. Then there were none. No light, no fire, just silence. As if they were never there, a giant plasma cannon fired from the surface of Kovar. The beam hit the human ship dead center. The ground shook from the force of the shot. Then, something terrifying happened. The human ship fired back. A single beam of white light, like a sword of the gods, came from its side. It sliced through the atmosphere, through shields, through metal, and into the mountain where the cannon had been placed. There was no explosion. Just nothing. The mountain was gone, a hole where it used to be. On the command deck of the Zorak Capitol Tower, panic spread. Officers screamed. Systems failed. Communications went dark. The Emperor stood frozen, his claws gripping his throne. "This is not war," whispered his advisor. "This is justice." Then the signal changed again. You thought Earth was gone. Earth became something more. A scientist shouted from his station, "We're detecting movement from behind the moons." Another human ship uncloaked. Then another, then 5 more. Within seconds, the number reached 20. Every ship was shaped differently, but they shared the same design. Dark metal, cold lights, silent engines. Not made for fear, but for punishment. The skies above Kovar filled with shadows. Zorak defense systems locked on, but the human fleet moved faster, precise, surgical. They didn't waste shots. Each strike hit a command post, a weapons system, a satellite. No cities, no civilians. They weren't there to destroy. They were there to end something. On the ground, people looked up and didn't see fire. They saw truth. The Empire was over. The Emperor gave his final order. "Retreat! Save the bloodline! Run!" But there was nowhere to run. The Capitol Tower cracked as a quiet tremor shook the ground. The human warship was descending, not crashing, landing, right in the center of the Imperial Plaza. No shots, no weapons, just presence and silence. The doors opened, a ramp extended, and then footsteps. One figure walked out, clad in old human battle armor, black with red markings, a helmet with no face. They carried no weapon. But their message was clear. Humanity had returned, and they were not afraid. The Zorak guards aimed their weapons, but none fired. Their hands shook. Their hearts pounded. The figure kept walking, closer, until they stood before the Emperor's tower. Then they spoke, in a voice that echoed across the city. "You took our world. Now we take your crown." No one moved. The human warrior stood tall in front of the Emperor's tower, alone, silent, unshaken. The Zorak guards held their weapons, but none dared to fire. They had seen what happened to fleets, to cannons, to mountains. And now a single human was here, on the ground, walking straight into the heart of their empire. The Emperor stared at the figure from the top floor. He felt rage, yes, but under it a deep and cold fear. That fear only grew stronger when the human raised a small device. It glowed blue. Then it spoke. "The crimes of the Zorak Empire have been recorded. The verdict? Guilty." Alarms started ringing. Not human alarms. Zorak systems. Emergency lights flashed. Warning signs covered every screen in the city. A virus had entered the Imperial core, but it wasn't damaging anything. It was revealing. Across every device, every broadcast, even in private military networks, the same message appeared. Files unlocked. Evidence of war crimes. Truth shall not be buried. Then images began playing. Real footage, ancient footage, of Earth's last days, Zorak fleets firing on cities, children running from falling buildings, colonies being wiped out, hidden meetings where Zorak leaders planned the betrayal, their words, their smiles, and then silence. Across Kovar, no one could deny it anymore. The Empire wasn't attacked by Earth. They had destroyed Earth. The Zorak people watched in horror as the truth came out. The lies they had believed for centuries were now broken. The Empire's honor was false. Its power built on genocide. Back at the tower, the human took off their helmet. A woman. Her eyes were cold, focused, determined. She looked at the guards. "No more killing," she said softly. "This isn't a war. It's a reckoning." She stepped into the tower. The guards stepped aside. Inside, every hallway had been locked down, but she walked through each gate like it wasn't there. Doors opened on their own. Elevators obeyed her presence. At the top floor, the Emperor waited. Behind him stood his elite guard, tall, armored, the best fighters in the Empire. They raised their weapons. The woman stopped a few meters away. She looked at the Emperor. "You erased my world," she said. "But we were never gone. We were watching, learning, preparing." The Emperor hissed. "You're just one human." She smiled. "No. I'm the voice of 10 billion. The Emperor pointed, and the elite guards charged. What happened next wasn't a fight. It was a lesson. She moved like lightning, fast, silent, efficient. Her hands were weapons. She didn't kill. She disabled. One guard fell, then another, then the rest. All in under 30 seconds, the Emperor stumbled backward. He tried to activate a hidden escape platform, but nothing worked. Every system had been taken. The human fleet had shut down his palace, his security, his rule. "No!" he screamed. "I am the Emperor." She stepped forward. "Not anymore." A loud sound shook the building. A shuttle landed outside. More humans emerged. They moved through the city with purpose, scanning archives, collecting evidence, helping civilians. The people of Kovar didn't resist. Many came forward willingly, asking questions. Some cried, some apologized. Most just stared. The human woman stepped aside as a group of her team entered the throne room. One of them, an old man with gray eyes, looked at the Emperor and nodded. "This ends today." In a quiet room high above the city, the human fleet broadcast one final message across the stars. To all species, to all worlds. Earth did not die. We rose again, stronger, smarter, united. We will not seek revenge. But we will not let evil hide. The truth is free now. Let justice follow. And with that, the humans left. They took nothing. They destroyed nothing more. But what they had done was more powerful than any weapon. They had ended an empire with truth, with courage, and with one warship. A single warship that arrived when no one else dared to stand up. A ship that reminded the galaxy, humanity remembers, humanity returns, and humanity never comes alone. The Zorak Empire didn't fall with fire. It fell with silence. After the humans left, the capital was quiet. The people didn't know what to do. For the first time in generations, there were no orders, no speeches, no lies. The Emperor had been taken, not killed, just removed. His guards had been defeated without blood. His secrets, once buried deep, were now in the open for all to see. The galaxy watched. Other alien species had seen the broadcast. Some had once feared the Zorak. Others had followed them, hoping to gain power. Now they saw what had really happened, and they saw what humanity had become. A dozen fleets from smaller civilizations sent messages to Earth. Not threats. Not warnings, apologies, and a question. "Will you speak with us?" But Earth didn't answer. Not yet. Because Earth wasn't on Earth anymore. The human fleet returned to a place far from the old galaxy maps. A system with strange stars. A space where no one had dared to explore. That's where they had built their new home. The humans called it the Forge. It wasn't a planet. It was bigger. A ring-shaped structure, larger than any alien station, built with tech no one understood, made from materials not found in any known system. Inside the Forge, humans worked like one mind. Scientists, engineers, warriors, diplomats. They had built more than weapons. They had built purpose. Inside a dark chamber, the woman who had faced the Emperor removed her armor and sat quietly. Her name was Captain Ayla Vorn, one of the last survivors of old Earth. She had been 10 years, old when Earth fell. Now she was its voice. A message blinked on her screen. Incoming signal. Unknown source. Urgent. She opened it. It wasn't from Zorak space. It was from another empire, the Valari Dominion, one of the oldest powers in the galaxy, known for staying neutral, known for their silence. But the message was clear. We know what you did to the Zorak, and we want to talk, in peace. Ayla forwarded the message to High Command. Moments later, a council gathered. Not just military leaders, but scientists, historians, AI advisors, and survivors from every lost human colony. They voted and agreed. It was time to speak. A small delegation was prepared. No warships, no threats, just one diplomatic cruiser, shaped like a silver arrow. Ayla was chosen to lead. As the cruiser left the forge, the stars seemed to grow still. Ayla looked out the window and whispered, "Let's see who remembers us for the right reasons." The Valari Dominion received the human ship with care. Their space was beautiful, full of floating crystal stations, glowing rivers of energy, and peaceful trade ships. But Ayla noticed something else. Fear. Not open, not loud, but quiet, careful. She was met by a tall Valari diplomat named Kellis Thorne. His skin shimmered like glass. His voice was soft. "We were allies with no one," he said. "But we never helped the Zorak. We only watched." Ayla nodded. "That's why we're here. Watching is no longer enough." They talked for hours about the past, about the galaxy's future, and something unexpected happened. The Valari offered Earth something rare, trust. They opened their records, shared their data, helped identify others who had helped the Zorak in secret. And one name kept showing up. The Drekar Union. A silent, dark empire at the edge of known space. They had never claimed land, never fought wars, but they had supplied. The Zorak with stealth tech, weapons, data. They were quiet, but deadly. Ayla returned to the forge, and the human council prepared again. This time, they didn't send just a scout. They sent a fleet, not to attack, but to warn, because if the Drekar had betrayed Earth once, they might try again. But Earth was no longer alone. Valari ships joined them, so did others, small forces from free worlds that had been victims of Zorak rule. One by one, the stars saw something new. Humanity was not building an empire. They were building a shield to protect the weak, to end secret wars, to stop monsters hiding behind politics and lies. And behind it all was that one warship, the one that arrived, when no one else would, still silent, still watching, still human. The Drekar Union never spoke much. They had no embassies, no trading ships, no known capital planet. But every empire in the galaxy knew one thing. When a Drekar ship appeared, something was about to disappear. Planets, leaders, secrets. So when a human-led fleet, joined by Valari and free world allies, entered Drekar space, everyone expected war. But nothing happened. The stars were still. No defenses came, no signals, just silence. Captain Ayla Vorn stood on the bridge of her ship, the horizon blade, staring at the black void ahead. They were deep inside Drekar territory now, but it felt abandoned. "This is wrong," her sensor officer said. "There should be stations, ships, anything." "They're hiding," Ayla replied, "or they've already moved." And then the signal came. Not a voice, not a face, just a message written in dozens of ancient languages, some even Ayla didn't recognize. "You opened the past. Now you've woken something worse." Every screen went dark. A pulse shot through. The fleet. Shields flickered. Systems restarted. Human tech held steady, but some of the Valari ships spun off course. Ayla steadied hers with calm orders, and then they saw it, a ship. No, bigger than a ship. It looked like a dead star wrapped in armor, darker than space, silent as the grave. It had no lights, no windows, just power. The Drekar dreadnought, a relic. From before Earth even entered the stars. It was said to be unmanned, controlled by something not fully alive. It moved toward them slowly. Ayla stood firm. She opened a wide band channel. "This is Captain Ayla Vorn of Earth. You are not under attack. We are here to demand answers." There was no reply, but something changed. The dreadnought stopped. A small door opened. "Just one." "Captain," her officer said, nervous. "It's inviting you in." Ayla smiled grimly. "Of course it is." She took her armor, her command tablet, and entered the drop shuttle. No guards, no army, just her, like before. The shuttle landed inside the massive Drekar ship. Inside was quiet, cold. The walls pulsed like they were alive. As she stepped forward, lights followed her steps. A path formed beneath her boots. She walked for minutes, then reached a round chamber. A single figure stood there, humanoid, covered in black tech armor. Its face was hidden. "Welcome," it said in a voice that sounded both digital and ancient. "Who are you?" Ayla asked. "I am the voice of the forgotten," it replied. "We helped the Zorak because we wanted to see what you would become." Ayla narrowed her eyes. "You wanted Earth to fall?" "No," it said. "We wanted to test you, to see if your species could survive extinction." She didn't speak. The figure continued. "We have watched species rise and burn. Most fade. Some turn to monsters. But humans, you did something rare." "We survived?" she asked. "No," the voice said. "You remembered." It turned and revealed a screen behind it, showing old Earth, real Earth, a picture taken before the fall, blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. Then it changed to the Forge. "You lost everything," the voice said, "and instead of becoming conquerors, you became something new. That's why we will not fight you." Ayla waited. "But others will," the figure said, "because the balance is broken now. You broke it." She frowned. "What balance?" The chamber began to shake slightly, not with danger. Something more. Like awakening. "There are powers in this galaxy," the figure said slowly, "that do not want justice, that live in the shadows, that fear a species that refuses to forget." "You mean more like you?" Ayla asked coldly. The figure nodded. "Worse than us, much worse. And now they know you're back." Ayla turned to leave. "We're not afraid," she said. "You should be," the voice whispered. She stopped, then answered with calm certainty. "They should be." Back on her ship, Ayla gave the order to pull out of Drekar space. The dreadnought did not follow. It simply vanished again, like smoke in the stars. But its message stayed with her. Something bigger was coming, something that had stayed quiet while the empires played their games. Something that had feared only one thing: a united, awakened humanity. And now, they knew Earth had returned. The Forge was quiet. Inside its massive halls, leaders from across the stars stood around a glowing map of the galaxy. It showed movement, fleets, signals, unknown activity. Something was coming. Captain Ayla Vorn stood at the center, her arms crossed, face calm but sharp. She had seen enough war to understand what silence meant now. It meant danger. After her meeting with the Drekar, a strange wave had spread across the galaxy. Systems that had once worked now glitched. Communication lines went silent. Entire planets reported shadows in orbit, then went dark, and then came the first real sign. A broken ship drifted near the Forge. It was a mining vessel from a neutral system. Inside were recordings, showing ships not like any seen before, black and gold hulls, no windows. They didn't move. They glided like they were part of space itself. One ship had destroyed an asteroid belt with a single pulse. Ayla watched the footage with her council. The ships didn't speak, didn't send warnings. didn't take prisoners. They simply erased what they touched. The AI advisors scanned the energy signals. No known origin, no known technology. Just one thing stood out. A symbol burned into the hull of every enemy ship, a spiral with 7 eyes. The E. Historians gasped. "It can't be," one whispered. "What is it?" Isla asked. "The old circle," the historian said. "A name from before memory. A force that once ruled everything, then vanished. We thought it was myth." Ayla stared at the symbol. "It's not a myth anymore." Word spread fast. The Valari Dominion raised their shields. Free world fleets returned to their homes. Panic grew. But Earth didn't panic. They prepared. For the first time in history, the Forge lit up with every ship online. Thousands of human-built warships stood ready, sleek, silent, full of tech the galaxy still didn't understand. But this time, they wouldn't go alone. One by one, allies returned. The Valari brought their crystal ships. The free worlds brought stealth fighters. Even the Drekar sent something. An ancient AI core that could predict enemy moves seconds before they happened. Ayla stood before the United Fleet. She gave no long speech, just words they all understood. "We stand together. Not for war, but for life. And if they want to erase us, let them try." The enemy came fast. Their fleet moved like a dark tide. Thousands of spiral-marked ships entered known space from all directions, and they didn't stop. They burned planets, absorbed energy, turned suns cold, but then they reached the Forge, and everything changed. The first wave hit hard, but Earth's defenses held. New energy shields built in layers withstood the impact. Human weapons, focused and silent, struck back with precision. The enemy learned quickly, but so did Earth. Fighters danced around the enemy's massive dreadships, moving like thoughts, guided by advanced AI and human instinct. For every ship, Earth lost. 3 enemy vessels fell. Ayla flew at the front in a small but powerful command ship. Her face calm, her voice clear. She wasn't just leading Earth anymore. She was leading the galaxy's last hope. And then, in the middle of the chaos, something happened. A massive enemy vessel, larger than a moon, powered up a weapon never seen before. Its center opened. Light bent, space cracked. It aimed directly at the Forge. All ships turned to stop it, but it was too fast, too strong. Ayla saw it happen. She knew the blast would destroy everything, so she made a decision. She turned her ship toward the weapon, and she activated a forbidden protocol, overcore. Her ship glowed white-hot. Its reactor burned at 500%, turning the vessel into a star. The AI protested. The crew begged. But she didn't stop. She whispered, "This is for Earth." And she hit the core. Her ship tore through the enemy weapon, smashing through layer after layer of alien armor. The explosion was blinding. Then, silence. The enemy weapon was gone. So was Ayla. The Forge survived. And the enemy? They didn't understand. They had erased civilizations before, but never one that fought with soul, never one that remembered pain and still chose hope. The rest of the enemy fleet broke apart, retreating into the dark from where they came. The battle was over, but the story had just begun. Years later, statues of Ayla stood on every allied world. Her name was spoken in every language, not as a conqueror, but as the captain who refused to run. And the Forge. It still floats, now with more than just human ships, alien. Flags fly beside Earth's, not in fear, but in unity. Because when no one else dared to challenge the darkness, it was humanity's warship that arrived, and everything changed forever.